I'd like to welcome everyone to the Maysboro Council meeting. Happy Martin Luther King's Day. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Personal appeals at this time. If anyone has a personal appeal, just state your name and what your appeal is. Anybody? No. And we have no one online. So that leads us to community minute. Does anyone have? Councilman Anders?
Just the Emmaus Youth Association, I wanted me to remind everyone that they have their baseball, softball signups for spring. There's a banner across the town. They can go to their website. It's EYAsports.org.
It's changed over the years. It used to be EYA News.
Yeah, it's EYA
I think it's
Sports.
EYA Sports.
Yeah. So they have their baseball, softball signups.
Okay, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted everybody to know that the 16th annual Snow Blast Winter Arts Festival will be taking place on Saturday, February 4th from noon to 4 o'clock. Events are taking place at the Triangle and businesses around town. We do have about 30 local artists, vendors, live music on the Triangle, food trucks and a few local breweries, and there will be a community art project, which will be very fun this year. So come out and enjoy nature and a little bit of art.
Thank you. Anybody else? Community minute? All right, no special presentations. We have the meeting minutes from January 3rd to approve. Somebody like to make a motion to approve those? Councilman Ballia, second by Councilman. Yeah, I reversed it. I wanted you to do the. Seconded by Councilman Frank.
You missed 6.
No, I
meetings.
Oh, like,
No. Any corrections or additions?
I know,
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Right, no decisions on bids under communications. We received a letter from Kiwanis Club requesting their annual Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 8th. This is an annual event. We'll send that to staff. We have 4 requests for reappointments, and we'll handle those each at a time. We have a request for reappointment to the Building Board of Appeals by Todd Lodslager. Is that in order? Yes. With a term expiring January 1st of 2028. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councilman Ballia, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes. We have a request for reappointment to the Joint Environmental Advisory Council from Jesse O'Donnell with a term expiring March 7th, 2026. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councilwoman McManaman, seconded by Councilman Balliet. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes. We had a request for reappointment to the Planning Commission by Nigel Watt. Term expiring April 1st, 2027. Somebody like to make a motion to approve that? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes. And the last request for reappointment is also for the Planning Commission for Robert Toth. Term expiring April 1st, 2027. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councilwoman McManaman, second by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes. We have a request from the Emmaus Public Library for the 3rd annual tea time at the library. It's their little mini golf event that they have on a Friday and Saturday. And those dates are April 24th and 25th. Because it is a recurring event, we'll send that to staff. We have,
I think there's alcohol sale on the property.
all right, because of the alcohol, we'll need a motion to approve alcohol sale on April 24th, Friday night. Councilman Ballia, second by Councilman Hart. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Sorry, who was first and second?
It was Ballia and
Oh,
Hart.
and then her.
clarification, the poster says March, said April,
Oh, I typed it in
March?
wrong.
24th and 25th?
I stand corrected. It is March 24th and March 25th. So um, I need to do an amendment on the dates for the vote. Okay. Just switch that. All right, we have an application for the alternate zoning hearing board member from John Stover. I'm gonna send that to Chairman Balliet's committee for interview. And we received a request or letter to request to have a policy to phase out fossil fuels in the borough from Julie Kay. To enter into the record, received a banner fee waiver request from East Penn Restaurant Week. This is the same as all the other years past. We don't need to vote on that, do we? No. So we'll refer that to staff. Joint Environmental Advisory Council volunteer application, Justin Gifford is applying for that. I'll send that to the Health, Sanitation and Codes Committee. And we have a change request for lighting and walking path material for land development. Is that going to a committee? Are we actually gonna
Well, I mean,
address it this evening?
that's up to you guys, and they might actually be here.
They're here.
Okay,
If now's a good time to present, happy to do so if it comes later in the meeting.
I would let them.
I'm fine now, and I don't think anyone has a problem with the PPL lights. That's
Okay.
fine. I think it's the walking trail that's an issue.
Yeah, and there's a couple issues we also included as part of the letter that was sent over today. I know it's a little bit late, but there's a little backstory. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this project down in South Mountain. It's about 49 or so residential buildings there. We've been there for a few years, trying to get this all resolved.
Right.
And fully complete. Project's over 90% done. These are the kind of final items that we just need confirmation that we don't think we need fully revised plans to be recorded or anything, but there's 4 items that we put in the letter tonight. Yeah, PPL switch, lights going to the PPL fixtures that we have the visualizations. I don't know if you guys want to see that tonight. Happy to do so.
What?
There's,
Are they,
The visuals on the.
are they the
picture.
same as our streetlights that were just installed or similar?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
yeah, the picture you want to show.
Yeah, yeah, we do have visualization here, but they are from PPL. It would show exactly if you like, it for a quick pass around if you like.
I think it's just part of their installation process. They'll be part of it. The original ones on the plans that had to overhang.
Yeah, I think they're over, it's originally.
I'm
Do
guessing.
you know what Kelvin these are? They say what lumen they are. Are they like a white light, a yellow light? And it's just more for curiosity.
It's the standard LED, right?
I believe
So
should be the
it's
standard.
gonna be
Standard
their standard
Yeah.
LED light.
Yeah, right.
Oh, he's got the same paper.
Don't we have an ordinance saying that?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a different. It's definitely a different light.
I don't know if you want to go item by item or it's just 4 items to kind of quickly go through.
My concern with those lights are, lights go out. I prefer the lights that shoot down and because of what they call light pollution. I mean, I don't call it that, but I just think it's overkill to have it. I mean, you just want to light the area down below, not the sky. So I don't know, looking at those. So, and I think we might have an ordinance addressing that. I'm not
I was gonna
positive.
say, I would want to be, if it's gonna be a change, make it consistent with the rest of the town versus.
Also, you're looking at more of a neighborhood kind of light. I mean, you know, it's a cul-de-sac back there. The original design was something similar. I mean, it wasn't the standard light that we have all over
Parking
town.
lot kinda.
Yeah, it was like parking lot kind
There's
of.
10 lights, I believe, throughout the development.
Yeah.
I believe there's 10 of them total.
Well, it takes out a
Pretty
control.
sporadic.
I mean, if the neighbors, they're the ones living there, but you know, that's a different kind of light. That's gonna shoot out versus down. And that might be going in their living rooms and stuff, so. You have to check.
If we have to vote on this, do we have to vote on adding this to our agenda? Because this is under communication, not an action item.
I mean, I have an option of sending it to committee?
You do.
Okay, so let's have the presentation and then we'll go from there.
Sure.
Yep.
fair enough.
So this, yeah, the first one is part of PPL, if they're doing the installations, they're kind of, these are the light fixtures that I think they're accustomed to. Is there anything else to include about that?
No, also, I think with the plan that was submitted, they are showing a concrete ballast for these things. When PPL installs something like this, they normally do a soft dig excavation. And it's nothing more than screening stone that's compacted. They don't usually fall out for a base like that. I don't know where that base in the hill came from.
And are those lights gonna be? I'll give you an example. Some telephone poles are right in the middle of the sidewalk in town. Are these gonna be on the edge?
Actually, when we went out there with PP&L and went through all this, and unfortunately, Mr. Farnsworth isn't here anymore. I met with him on this, and for the size of the base and the excavation they need to do, there was not enough room between the side, in the planter strip where they were called for. And if you go through that development, you'll see with it being all townhouses, it's all a continuous apron. And some of them would have fell in the apron. Not really the apron, but the sidewalk area between the two driveway aprons, and they would have been right behind the curb. So very high potential for someone to back out and knock them over. So we went and pushed them behind the sidewalk. They sit right behind the sidewalk.
Okay,
So originally.
so is that in the people's property then?
Oh, it would be the right of way, it would
It's
be right on the other side of the
it's
sidewalk,
just inside the right of way.
Okay,
on the property.
I'm fine with that. That's,
The way that photo should. Yes.
okay. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, next item.
On item 2, so I'm guessing. So originally, there's, on the original plans, there is a walking path going around the community. The material was never specifically detailed in regards to the plans, and what we had done when the plans were approved and recorded, there was an improvements, cost estimate as part of that. We always listed that this would be subgrade mulch material for the walking path. So if you go back to our cost estimates from years ago, there's always gonna be a line item which we accounted for the total cost of the mulch walking path going around this. So what we've done with the revised plans that were submitted is just detail, yes, this is gonna be a mulch walking path going around. It's the same cost estimate that we included this whole time. So that's, because we're just giving that confirmation and clarification of the actual material on that, but also in line with everything we presented in regards to our cost estimates throughout the years. We just want confirmation again as part of this presentation that was given to you guys.
So why not a cinder trail? How do you push a stroller on mulch? And how do you prevent that from washing away and weeds growing it in? Who's gonna maintain it and be responsible for that?
Ultimately, that'll be part of the HOA, once this is finished, that's gonna be their responsibility. If they would ever want to change that material to something else, or quicker macadam or something like that, they can certainly do that at that point, but this is what was always planned for and proposed from Farino as far as the cost estimate side.
So that was also presented when it was brought before us to make that a public trail also. And there's no way of making that cinder now. Do we have the legal right to make them do cinders, or are we past that point?
Well, so the problem is it's not listed in any of the plans specifically. Am I correct in that? So that's the issue with this was never actually specifically stated that it would be either mulch or gravel. That is why that's primarily the reason they're here tonight, because that has never actually been.
So can we
decided.
require cinder?
We could argue that.
I
Now,
think it should be
I think
cinder.
they may disagree.
Yeah, obviously, we don't wanna, I think we've been had a good relationship with Pearl here, and we wanna complete this in good light, but with everything that's gone on with this project and finish on a good note. I think that we would have the dispute, I guess, than what we always presented and what was on our cost estimate as that line item that's always been a mulch walking.
Well, I can tell you right now that probably nobody on council looked at cost estimate. I can tell you that. We don't look at cost estimates. We look at plans, but I will tell you, if you're gonna do it, why not do it right the first time so the community can actually enjoy it? I don't know, a mulch trail. How's somebody on a wheelchair going a mulch trail? They don't. Why not do it the right way? And put a cinder trail in?
And we can certainly look at the cost of that, but I'm just, from the years going into this project, the costs that were estimated as part of this project has always just been part of it.
Councilman Anders.
Mr. President, I concur with you and I just don't see that being in a bit an accessible thing for the community, and I would not support mulch. I do not feel that that is the way we should proceed, and I just don't.
All right, I foresee this going to committee eventually. Okay, anybody else have any comments on the trail?
Yeah, just to confirm, so there was never anything officially approved here, obviously, it was just your paperwork that always said that.
The plans have a walking trail on.
There was never a discussion at the planning commission level of
That's
what
what
that
I'm
means.
saying.
Correct.
There was no discussion at all.
It's a
on what-
complete-
Just that there's gonna be a trail.
It's a
So there's-
complete nullity with respect to that. The only item that they have that indicates it was a mulch trail is a cost estimate provided by Ott Consult.
Okay. Third item?
Yep, third item, so there's been necessary field updates to the infiltration based rail system and materials. We're changing actually to an upgraded version from a two-piece split rail system with 3 rail split fence with subsequent upgrades to the type of materials. I'll let Mark kind of elaborate on something like that. I think the new system is actually what you guys have.
Yeah, originally on the original plan started out with a chain link, and then it went to a. No, this is, and I believe it was to a 2-rail
Yeah.
fence with galvanized wire.
Not even discussion.
And we're proposing to a 3-rail split rail with a vinyl wire. Very much as that's down around the Wawa basin.
Is that 3-rail down there?
I believe it is 3-rail. I believe it is 3.
Is that actually more costly?
It is costly. I believe the proposal, when the plan was changed to a wood fence, it had galvanized material on it.
But
I
that's in
believe it was
keeping,
only 2-rail, if I remember correctly.
but that's in keeping with what's surrounding it, correct? What you're proposing? That's in keeping with what's surrounding it, what other fences in the area look like?
Yeah, I believe I even, when I went through, I believe I even took some pictures of the Wawa fence.
I think he's right. I think it's 3.
I would say, I think it's correct, that's correct.
I don't think you need to really talk about that. I think
You want to vote on them individually?
it's up to you guys.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to allow the fence?
So I think that this is under, I don't know, I mean, that's under,
So as to your sunshine thing, but before we go that, a member of the public putting something, because that was brought up by the public, it was on committee, it can be addressed when the public raises it under the new changes to the Sunshine Act. So it doesn't need to be a specific action item. It's if we're generating something that it has to be an action item on the agenda. That was the new modification to the Sunshine Act, because they are members of the public making this presentation. You can vote on something that they've raised to your attention. However, this might be the sort of thing that would be more appropriate for committee, Mr. President.
Well, I am sending parts of it to the committee, but if we agree on certain issues tonight, I prefer to vote on it tonight. Such as the fence. I don't see anyone disagreeing with three rails versus 2 rails.
And that is your.
We would certainly appreciate any determinations on at least some of the items to at least continue to make progress, so we can.
So would somebody like to make the
Motion.
make a motion to approve the 3-rail versus the 2-rail? Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any more discussion?
I'm not so sure why we're not discussing this in total in committee. I understand that
Well, because
that at first.
if
blush,
nobody has an issue with 3 rails, then I'm gonna give them approval.
You're gonna give them approval by yourself.
Well,
That's
counsel.
what I'm saying,
Did I say that? Anything else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
bro. And no,
5-2. Councilwoman Baumgartner and Councilman Hart. All right, and your 4th issue.
Fourth item, back in August, we actually had submitted a letter of credit reduction request. there's some, I guess, administrative issues with issuing that and approving that, and it took I think, until late November or so for that to be issued and given back to us a little longer than expected. However, during that interim time, we also received an invoice from the borough for $3,000 for an additional escrow payment, which I think is going to future inspections or so. And so we were looking, based on the delay of the original letter of credit reduction, as well as the other project issues, we're at the finish line here. Some of the delays have kind of caused us to be in a negative escrow situation with our lender. We were looking to ask you guys to withdraw that $3,000 escrow payment request, as this thing is, we're at the finish line here. Obviously, we're paying any costs that are associated with the borough, but just as part of that additional escrow, that's kind of put us in a bit of a bind.
I would recommend you don't withdraw anything.
Council has the authority to do this based on the agreement. It's their decision as to what they want to do. The borough manager is suggesting not to.
But yeah, this is just because of, the August delay with the letter of credit and the situation with our lender. It's just put us in a tough negative escrow situation where now we're having to reverse back and it's making it a little bit more complicated. We're hoping to resolve some of those.
So let me be clear to you. By you doing that, you are putting whatever bills I receive from him or your engineer on the taxpayer's burden until I can get my money for the borough from them, rather than having the money in an escrow and billing against it. So that's the impact. Okay.
And I think we've been pretty good with paying our costs throughout this, and it was also on us. We took the hit over the August through November delay of not getting back reduction that we requested.
Somebody like to make a motion to deny the request?
I will make that motion.
Councilman Anders, is there a second? So you're allowing the request? Motion dies for lack of a second. So is there a motion to approve the request? So no decision on the
We should
request?
Go to committee with the rest.
I would make a motion to take this.
All right, well, we had a recommendation from our. All right, so these are gonna go to the General Administration Committee.
But because it goes to committee, we have.
No, I understand.
Right, I
There's
just wanna
three
make sure,
items that are
right.
going to the
No,
committee.
but what I'm saying,
These are gonna go to a committee, General Administration Committee. We meet this Thursday at 9 AM.
And then would you make a recommendation back to council?
Correct. Council as a whole will vote on it then from the recommendations.
Did we at least agree that payment for the $3,000? Right now, you're saying it's past due. Can we at least wait until the committee meeting this week so that you guys? So I don't want to be hit with any kind of late charges, interest or anything.
You're gonna have to vote on that. I'm not waiving anything unless you force me to.
I'll make the motion to deny.
Okay, we'll try again. There's a motion to deny the request by Councilman Anders. Is there a second?
Wait,
This
what's
is
your,
just a request, just
yeah,
to
this-
defer until your committee.
Oh,
I do not, my is to not allow any extension. If it's due, it's due.
all right. So the motion is to deny the extension. Is there a second for it?
Can you chime in, solicitor?
I'm not sure. So the motion is to deny the
Extension?
extension until the committee meeting on Thursday, correct? Is that what this motion
Correct.
is? Okay. I mean, you have the right to waive fees and penalties. You do have that right under both the MPC and your own ordinances.
So just part of our frustration was with the delay, and your solicitor can talk to you about the required timelines to get our letter of credit reduction approved. So if you want to.
I'll tell you, since 2006, in this profession that I've been doing this every day for that many years, this is the first time I've ever had anybody come in here, especially on a multi-million-dollar development, ask for a $3,000 waiver.
that's the part that concerns me here, to be honest with you.
So are you insinuating that we dropped the ball on a timeline of when you guys asked, and
He is.
So
Yes, he is.
And I'll tell you
is there
that,
anything required by law, like in a timely manner? kind of
So
thing?
yes, the MPC requires that all letter of reduction requests be acted on within a certain time period.
And there was an issue with paperwork between them and the engineers, is
Correct.
what the issue was.
So it wasn't on us.
Well, it wasn't on us. There was an issue
There-
between
there
them and
are-
our engineer.
And Mr. Eliker's argument would be that it is our responsibility to deal with the engineer. Am I correct in that?
Correct, we submitted our paperwork
And it should have been on the agenda within 30 days pursuant to the.
Except that there was a hang up with some of their people.
Correct, and that's, like I said, it's a plausible argument for,
But that was in November and that was taken care of.
So
They
the
still
letter-
owe the bills for.
Yeah.
The other work.
I just want to make clear, there's no issues with us paying bills that are gonna be due by the borough. We're gonna continue to do that. We're gonna continue to do that timely manner. Bruno's name is on the line for that. I'm just saying, from the delay that the letter of credit reduction caused us, it messed with some timelines with our own lender that put us in a negative escrow situation. So
can I,
that's just-
can I ask the question? So are you currently in a negative escrow situation with your lender?
That's what I'm being told by my client. I don't obviously have that paperwork or.
Well, it's been
that
2.5 months.
correspondence, But that's what they're saying.
Okay.
And that's, Farino's in a, I want to make sure I put it out, Farino's in a very good financial position.
And I, look,
overall.
I understand, I'm
It's just-
trying to, I was trying to determine the immediacy of the request that you're making in this. I know you've reached out to me about this several times. I have to answer to Borough Council.
Yep.
So that is why I'm trying to, this is the first I'm hearing about the negative balance though. Has that been resolved to your knowledge, to your client's knowledge?
I don't want to speak out of turn. I've just been told that the issues have created a negative situation. I don't think this isn't something that we can easily overcome. I'm just saying, I'm just hoping for some give and take just on this minor issue, just because of the issues in the past.
I mean, perhaps holding the fees and penalties in abeyance until you guys have your meeting is something you can do.
I have a hard time believing this entire thing. We're talking about 3,000 people, $3,000 that most people write a check to you and give you. Like that's what we're talking about, $3,000 and so they want us to waive that because of something that allegedly happened 2.5 months ago.
As of right now, I'm just asking you to waive issuing us penalties until you guys discuss it.
My motion's on the floor.
Well, we can't decide anything on Thursday, right? I mean, it's
No.
only 3 people, so.
Well, no, that's
Right, it's gonna take you another 3
Committee
weeks,
meeting.
that's.
Right.
So it would be, if you were to agree with the motion by Mr. Anders is to deny that request. What they are requesting is that the fees and penalties be, are you saying waived or held in abeyance? Because there's a difference.
Held in abeyance. because obviously
Until,
you guys are gonna
until another
discuss
vote
this.
occurs.
Until our next council meeting.
That would be the next council meeting. Mr. Pepe clearly disagrees with that, and looks like, Mr. Hart has something to say.
But what he's ultimately looking for is waiver. of
Correct.
the completely.
Yes.
So let's get to the end. But can we vote on that tonight? Again,
Again, I had a
Okay.
motion.
He had a motion, nobody seconded
Do you
it.
want to amend your motion to not allow the reduction at all?
Well, I would suggest you let this motion's already on the floor.
So there is a
Finish it 'cause
motion
we're in
to
discussion.
deny the extension. Is there a second?
No, the motion is to deny the
Extension.
request. Yes, the extension to the next meeting.
Is there a second? All right, motion dies for lack of a second. Now, is there any other motion?
make a motion to not waive any of the fees.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second discussion. So this is essentially denying number 4, which we had a motion for just previously.
Correct.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Explain the motion?
The motion is to essentially to deny the waiver of the fee.
In other words, they pay you 3,000.
They're gonna pay the 3,000.
Not late fees or whatever.
Late fees are up to table, didn't get a second. Fair enough.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes. So 2 items have been acted on. The other 2 items I'm sending to general administration. We meet 9 AM this Thursday. And our next council meeting will be President's Day, the first,
Your next council meeting.
on a Tuesday,
Oh, yeah, it's the 6th.
Yeah, your next council meeting is February 6th.
February 6th.
We'll be a committee this Thursday, make a recommendation back to council, your council February meeting, you guys ultimately determine the light.
Yes.
issue as well as well.
And just a heads up, there's a possibility we might change our meeting to 6 o'clock. So
The committee or the council?
Council.
Council
So
meeting, so be aware and
if you,
find out.
if you can't find the link, which is on our website, send me an email and I'll send you a link to the Gen Ed meeting. Okay, do me a favor too, if you could, if you can send us photos of the streetlight again.
Yeah, we have that media.
Yeah, if you can just email that to me, that way I can share that on the screen at the Gen Ed meeting. And whatever, if there's any other information that you want me to share on the
You
screen.
have the updated plan sheet.
So I don't, that doesn't mean our zoning planning people,
I think
you know,
Odd has it.
or odd.
I think Odd has it.
But I personally,
And would not be at that meeting.
Odd would not be at that meeting unless we request them there. Typically, it's just the solicitor, not the engineer.
These copies.
So the,
No, they're not originals.
We leave.
yeah, if you can email me just a PDF of it, that would, these guys meet virtually for that meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, PDF is probably easier.
Thank you.
so we will discuss and make a recommendation with regard to the PPL lights and the trail. Thank you.
Will anybody be in person here in case?
I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be here.
But you'll be able to log on to that meeting.
Yeah,
So if you guys want to physically come in, I could always put it on the big TV for those guys.
or you can log in virtually.
No, thank you guys for your time. Obviously, we want to wrap this up in a positive light. And obviously, these are just final clarification issues that we're hoping you guys see our side of it, but I understand everyone's position. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, will I ask a question quick?
Yes,
Shanna, is this the normal way to handle this? Because I don't remember just coming with this. Waiving fees, I understand, but
No, and so 2 out of these 4 things are all I knew about until you saw this letter today.
I'm not pointing finger at you. I mean, I just.
No, I knew nothing about the fees. I knew
Okay.
nothing about the extension. All I knew about was
The light and
the light and the trail.
Okay.
That was it.
all right, continuing with our communications, we received a letter from Luke Reidinger, our paratransit driver, and he is resigning due to getting a full-time position elsewhere. So if we could send that thank you letter to him, thanking him for his service. And we have no borough engineers report, solicitors report.
no report progress.
Thank you. Under unfinished business, part 1, we have nothing. Under new business, we have 3 ordinances. We'll start with ordinance 1237, an ordinance amending chapter 15, subsection 403, subsection 404.1,
Take care, Alex.
subsection 406, subsection 407, subsection 602.2.a, and subsection 6.2.3 of the codified ordinances amending several sections of the Borough of Emmaus parking regulations. This is our first reading, and second reading would be first meeting in February or
Sorry,
something.
February 6th, because it's 3 weeks in between meetings.
Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1237? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Any discussion or anything that needs to be explained on this? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. While it appears onerous, it is but a compendium of many things that occurred
Did somebody buy you a thesaurus, John?
of
Somebody's
the
check them on that
police
one.
department going out and doing an inventory of all of our parking. And they did a fantastic job. And so the compendium is making sure that all of that is in order in writing. What we put signs up for and vice versa. Where we didn't have signs, where there should be signs when the ordinance was approved previously. The only changes, the only substantive changes here are on 3rd Street, where we have shortened, if you will, to the south, the 2-hour parking by Armendez.
Okay.
Okay, and this is to permit parking by people living in that area further north. And we heard a number of complaints about that. And we found that there is not utilization of that area, you know, during the day when we have 2-hour parking there. So police monitored it and we did some overheads, Mr. Pepper did some overheads. And we agreed that we should extend the all-day parking there. So it's noted in here what we're talking about from Chestnut Street up north on Third.
Yeah, so essentially on Third Street, the 2 hour parking will only go from Main to where the driveways are behind our metas, and then where the driveway begins behind the old Trout's hot
Yeah.
dogs. So beyond that is all residential, and that's the area where we're changing back to full day parking.
It frees up some spaces for the residents.
Because right now it's 2 hour parking all the way up the road, all the way up the block.
I was just gonna ask if, I imagine there was probably a map that you were looking at. Is it possible to get a copy of the map for our next reading? Just to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could go on Google Earth and just show you.
I think we looked, Councilwoman, I think we looked at a Google picture of it, we knew exactly
Yeah.
where it was. And didn't do it from the map, we did it from a Google.
If you drive by there tonight, you'll see where the 2 driveways are just beyond both business frontages. That's where we eliminated 2 hour parking.
All the way up to
Going the rest of the way up.
I know it's memory, just make sure.
Yeah, I actually, when this originally came up, I actually went and looked at it and it made sense because after that, it is all residents and
I think
so.
I had sent you guys a
Certainly we could get that.
detailed memorandum on this months ago on this issue.
So. All right, any more discussion?
Just a quick question. Are there any signage costs that you have? This?
Removal, maybe?
There was some signage that we realized we have ordinance for. That the signage was either knocked down or removed over the years. We've already placed that signage back in.
Okay.
The reason this is such a big looking ordinance is because we are deleting. Yes, we are deleting the previous ordinance or previous section and just replacing. So that's why it looks as large as it is, just because we want it to be clean when they go ahead and codify it.
And to back up what Mr. Pepe is saying, when you redo these ordinances for that E code 360, every time any municipality that has E code 360, it's easier to do it this way because they send it in and then they can show that deletion sectioning on when they click on the link. So anybody who's looking at it will see what was deleted and see the new insertion.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? All right, this is a roll call vote. Councilwoman McManaman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Baumgartner. Councilman Anders.
Aye.
Councilman Labenberg, aye. Councilman Dufrain.
Aye.
Councilman Hart.
Aye.
Councilman Balliet.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes. Our next ordinance is 1238, an ordinance of the Borough of Emmaus, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, amending chapter 15, subsection 602.3.a of the Emmaus Borough Code, adding residential disabled parking sign and assigning permitted parking space on a public street located in front of 106 South 12th Street within the Borough of Emmaus. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve this first reading? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Dufrain. Any questions on this? Self-explanatory.
No issues. This is straightforward. This individual qualifies for a disabled parking space.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call vote. Councilwoman McManaman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Baumgartner. Councilman Anders.
Aye.
Councilman Laberg. Aye. Councilman Dufrain.
Aye.
Councilman Hart.
Aye.
Councilman Balliet.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes. Ordinance 1238 passes on first reading. Ordinance 1239, an ordinance establishing parking kiosk zones including days and hour parking limits, placement and characteristics of parking, payment, unlawful acts, ticketing, permits, as well as violations, penalties, and exceptions for kiosk zones within the Borough of Emmaus. We are not, from what I understand, we are not going to have our first reading, but I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Hart to explain where we're at with this.
Yeah, what this is, if you take a look at it, is our first attempt at establishing charging for kiosk parking. And we had a lot of last minute information hit the Public Safety Committee, which we tried to digest, and Mr. Pepe and Sarah worked on putting together an ordinance to match it up what we were discussing last week. And we need a little bit more time, to be quite honest. But it is good reading for you to get a sense of what we're looking at. It was written in a sense to not simply accomplish paid kiosk parking in the old Wells Fargo lot, which we now lease, but rather an attempt to be inclusive of anywhere else that council would vote.
So it's
to have
expandable.
Kiosk parking, that's absolutely correct. And we would take out of it, we would not be including fees, including in the ordinance. We would rather have that approved by council as we do with all other fees. So it would be a vote, a simple vote by us, not a double reading of ordinances, posting all of that. So no action tonight, as Mr. Lakeberg said, but we will have it back on the table. As a matter of fact, we scheduled a special meeting because Councilman McManaman is going to be out of town, so we're going to get this back.
Gonna fine tune it.
Yes.
And so you won't see it on your next council agenda on the 6th, because I think we're meeting on the 8th. So you'll probably, depending on what the committee does, you probably see it at your second meeting in February.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to unfinished business part 2, we have nothing. Does anybody have anything to bring forward that is not currently on the agenda? Hearing none, Madam Mayor's report.
I have nothing to report. Progress.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Chairman Anders.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We have nothing for official action. Our next meeting is this Wednesday, January 18th at 4 p.m. via Zoom. And with that, I'll report progress.
Thank you. Health, Sanitation and Codes Committee, Chairman Balliet.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a few things for official action tonight. First is hiring a new codes officer. Shane and Sarah have been working on this for maybe a month and a half or so. They went through a bunch of interviews. We interviewed 3 candidates for a final interview, and our recommendation out of our committee is hiring a very familiar name to everyone. That is Mr. Brent Reed from our Public Works department. So with that, put that in a motion to hire Mr. Brent Reed.
Motion by Councilman Balliet. Is there a second? Councilwoman McManaman. Discussion. Don't we usually include the salary?
Yeah, 70,000 to start.
All right, and is there any contingencies like probation or anything like that? I know it's not well employed, but do we have anything there?
No probationary period. He's already employed by us.
Okay.
We will have, just like every other employee, he's going to have the requirement of finishing his BCO within 1 year.
Yeah.
He will have to, and he does, we do have a training plan set up, but.
Okay. That's what I was kind of going to. All right, thank you. Anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
There are 6 ayes and 1 no. Councilman Hart.
Next is a resolution that we've seen quite a few times for the same property. This is back again for some minor adjustments, and this is resolution 2023-4, and it is a resolution that is superseding resolution 2022-40, and this is for the property located at 680 Ridge Street, and this is for their preliminary and final land development plan. And there is one small change on this, and that was with some wording with the way that the plans were filed.
Mr. Bailey, do you want me to explain why we're back here on this one?
Sure.
Would it make your life easier? Because
No cursing.
it will not.
No big words.
Yeah, no big words.
I don't have my thesaurus. It's simple. So when this plan originally came back, it had to go to land development because it had been deactivated because of the extent of time. The initial resolution we amended because, and this was on me, I had said 2 houses, including the existing one. Mr. Tranguch, who we thought Mr. Tranguch at the time said it should be 3 houses listed. I made that change, and that was why the resolution went to you guys originally. Now, what we were not aware of is apparently there's another developer, Mr. Kiernan, who is purchasing this property from Mr. Tranguch. And he has indicated that he's not comfortable purchasing the property from Mr. Tranguch because they're not recording what's called a Mylar plan because the original plan was so old. They didn't want to pay for another engineer. They are now asking that they waive the Mylar because there's been no changes. That is the only change to this resolution, that they are simply allowed to record the resolution instead of a Mylar plan. That is it. There's no other modifications, and it is a simple change and it does not affect development, but that is why we're here. That's
So do you like to place a motion to approve resolution 2023-4?
Yes, Mr. President.
Motion by Councilman Balliet. Is there a second? Councilman Hart, any more discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, there are 7 ayes.
The next item is a letter of credit reduction for the fields at Indian Creek. I spoke with Mr. Pepe this morning. And it looks like they have everything in line to qualify for this credit reduction. The credit reduction is $230,532.92. And I would like to place that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilman Dufrain. Any questions on this? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes.
Our next item for action is a resolution, resolution 2023-3, and it is for a traffic signal maintenance agreement at 6th and 7th Street.
6 in Chestnut.
Sorry, Chestnut Street. It's the lights there at Turkey Hill, so I would place that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Balliet. Is there a second? Councilwoman McManaman, any questions on this?
How is this upgrading, helping our citizens?
This is the 3rd time you've passed the same resolution with different wording.
Okay.
Because PennDOT it must have new people there. That's all I can tell you.
PennDOT is PennDOT.
But it's the same resolution with different wording again. So you're not changing anything, no
Triple point.
content. It is,
I just,
it's to pacify whoever's sitting in the office this week.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed? There are 7 ayes.
Our next meeting will be January 25th at 4:45. And with that, I will report progress.
Thank you, Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairwoman Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have not met as a committee this month. We have no items for action. We will be meeting tomorrow, January 17th, 4:45 p.m. I report progress.
Thank you, Public Safety Committee, Chairman Hart.
Thank you. We already handled the 3 ordinances, 2 remaining action items. One is the purchase of a parking kiosk. You have in your packet information concerning, but we had 2 different manufacturers that the committee was looking at. Ray and Sarah were looking at more closely than us, and it was really a toss-up. However, we did receive a relatively last-minute reduction because of the new model that was available on the one that we were favoring slightly, which is the Flowbird one. You see that in your packet for a price of $6,999. This is one of the things that we were requiring from the manufacturers that we looked at is license plate reading. We absolutely wanted that ability. We also wanted capability to work with the most widely acceptable app that's out there. Forgetting the name of it. Mr. Pepe, what is it?
Park Mobile.
Park Mobile. So the customers will have an opportunity to use that if they so choose. They don't have to. They would be able to use the directly with the kiosk. And it also would have the ability to, with that software, to have merchants, should they so desire, to pay the fees for their customers by going into the app and paying the fee for someone who's going to be shopping at their store, should they so choose. So we're recommending purchase of the Flowbird device as noted in your packet.
Motion at a price of,
6999.
motion by Councilman Hart, second by Councilwoman McManaman. Any discussion? Just a two things I brought up with Shane, just in case anyone was wondering. I asked who's gonna be responsible for emptying the machines and who's gonna be responsible for refilling the paper for receipts, and it will be whoever's working the downtown in the police department. So it will be the police department that will be in charge of that, just in case anyone was wondering. I was wondering, so I figured somebody else might think that. Anybody else have any questions?
Is there a multiple unit discount?
Yeah, there is. You saw that back in October. Because I had priced out, like, okay, if we were doing the parking lot, what would it cost versus if I bought 10 of them and did the entire 5 blocks of the downtown area. And there is, but that's not in your discussions right now. You're buying one for parking lot.
Anybody else? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes.
The next item under public safety is the hiring of a police department clerk. We had 3 what I would consider qualified candidates for the position, and decided unanimous recommendation to extend the offer to council first, a Joanna Bannerman. And she has quite a bit of experience in the public safety arena. She was the administrative assistant to the director of public safety, in the Upper Darby School District, and also nonetheless very impressive in her interview, and we're recommending her for hire. Put that in front of the
Motion by Councilman Nahara, is there a second? Councilman Dufresne, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed?
That's it for my action items. The next meeting is might not be January 26th, it might be February 8th. At what time did we say, Mrs.?
9
a.m. Via Zoom. And with that, I report progress.
Thank you, General Administration Committee. I have nothing on the agenda tonight. We do have a meeting this Thursday at 9 a.m. via Zoom. Progress. Budget and Finance Committee, Chairman Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have the bill list for approval tonight. So it's resolution 2023-5, resolved by Borough Council to authorize payment of the January 16th, 2023 bill list as follows. Bill list $313,662.56. Payroll number 1, $214,505.98. Payroll taxes $70,451.95 for a total of $598,620.49 on the 16th day of January 2023, and I put that in the form of the motion.
Motion by Councilman Dufresne. Is there a second? Councilman Hart. Any questions on the bills? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes.
I've been, that's it for action. You can see the significant revenue and expenses for the first half of January in there, and the meeting notes, and just one thing to report in the meeting notes, slide in there, but we're getting pretty good interest rate now, and the money was sitting around waiting to get paid on our construction project, so it's gonna be a help here with the interest rates going up. So it's hurting most other people, it's helping us right now with those funds. The only other thing here we have is the next meeting, January 19th at 11 a.m. With that, I report progress.
Thank you. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee, Chairwoman McManaman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing for official action this evening. Our next meeting is that was scheduled for Monday, January 23rd, is being postponed until Wednesday, February 8th at 4:30 p.m. via Zoom. And please note our regularly scheduled meeting in February will be February 27th. which will also take place. I report progress.
Thank you. There's no boards or commission meeting notes. Personal appeals part 2, I see no one in the audience and no one on our Zoom. So we're by ourselves. Sorry, I didn't mean to exclude the press. And then that leads us to Borough Manager's report.
So we have several hires that we've made with EMTs, which is a good thing because it's an area where we're in desperate need. An interesting one is hiring Lori Berry, an advanced EMT. I'm gonna be coming to public safety at some point to talk about what an advanced EMT can do on the truck to subsidize if we're short on paramedics. And we might need to adopt a policy to allow that. to
That's
happen.
an in-between type
It's an
thing?
in-between, so they can do a lot of what paramedics can do, but there are definitely spots that they can't perform. So like, if a person's in cardiac arrest, for example, they're not able to administer the different medicine that a paramedic is certified to administer. But it's worth at least a discussion of whether or not we would allow a truck to be staffed by an AEMT and an EMT. Their primary duties for the most part will be as an EMT, but considering a staffing need, we may want to have a discussion of that and how that works. Nonetheless, she's very qualified. We're extremely excited about that.
Is she working on being a paramedic?
Actually, no, she's not interested. in
So
being a
that's, this is where she's at, okay.
Sarah Pierce was also hired as an EMT, as was Alicia Page. So both are hired as EMTs, so.
Awesome.
Other than that, I report progress. I am asking for an executive session for real estate.
Okay.
discussions.
Under president's business, I mentioned earlier about switching our meetings to 6 o'clock. Does anyone have a scheduling conflict if we were to have all meetings at 6 o'clock? Because if not, I'm gonna direct Shane to start it with February. He just has to advertise it in the East Penn Press one time and that's it. Maybe our reporter can put it in his article too, let the public know. But if nobody has a scheduling conflict, I'm gonna move our future meetings to 6 o'clock, get our staff out a little earlier. And I think it will benefit too when we go back to Borough Hall. A lot of our meetings are less than an hour and that opens up the parking for the movie theater too, so. Could be a plus there. Anybody? No comment? Because if there's an issue, I would send it to committee and maybe debate this time schedule to maybe 6:30 or something. I'm thinking 6 o'clock.
You might want to put that in the form of a motion, Mr. President.
Well, then it's not on the agenda.
I would.
Well, so let me ask you this.
Can I direct them?
Did the council president, does he have the?
So it's already advertised, so you're making a change. I would suggest adding it to the agenda and making a motion.
All right, is there,
I apologize, but I think it's.
No, we want to do it the right way.
I think that's the right way to do it.
all right, is there a motion to add it to the agenda? Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilman Anders. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, so it's added to the agenda now. And then I would need a motion to change future council meetings to 6 o'clock and to allow for advertising that. So motion by Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any discussion? Everybody excited about that or not? Or, all right, all those in favor? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 7 ayes. So starting in February, our first meeting will be at 6 o'clock.
Is that good for your schedule, Mr. Solicitor?
Yeah.
It's fine.
He gets home earlier too.
Yeah, that's fair.
What?
Does that mean I get to skip meeting with the two
I
of
said,
you?
I'm gonna wait that Grant will be delayed.
All right, I report progress.
$100 on that.
I'm gonna declare an executive session at 8 o'clock for real estate with no action to be taken. So executive session at 8. And turn recording off and it already started. All right, we're reconvening at 3. Oh, sorry. Where'd it
Unless
go?
I blacked out, it's not.
8:16. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Hart, second by Councilman Balliet. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
I'm gonna listen to it.
Meeting adjourned at 8:16, not 3:16.